It was a Tuesday afternoon, the kind that feels completely ordinary until the moment it isn't. I remember the sound of the rain hitting the office window and the hum of the coffee machine in the corner. Why, I was sitting at my desk, organizing the monthly invoices, just like I had done for the last 5 years. My phone buzzed, a simple notification from the bank. I picked it up, expecting to see a deposit notification or maybe a recurring payment alert. Instead, I saw a balance that made no sense. $4.12. I blinked, thinking it was a glitch. I refreshed the app. $4.12. My heart didn't race immediately. Instead, everything just stopped. The noise of the rain, the hum of the machine, it all went silent. I walked over to the other office, the one with the glass door where Mark sat. Mark wasn't just my business partner, he was the guy I'd known since college, the one who convinced me to quit my safe corporate job to build something of our own. He was the godfather to my niece. He was family in every way that matters except blood. He wasn't at his desk. His laptop was gone. The picture of his dog that usually sat on the filing cabinet was gone too. That was the moment the panic tried to set in. One day it starts in your stomach, a cold, twisting knot that wants to make you scream, cry, and throw things. I felt the urge to run out into the hallway, to call the police, to call his wife, to do something loud. But I didn't. I stood there in the doorway of his empty office and I took a deep breath. Just one, then another. This is where the story usually turns into a courtroom drama or a revenge plot. But this isn't about revenge. It's about what happens when the floor falls out from under you and you have to decide whether to fall with it or learn how to fly. I went back to my desk and sat down. I realized then that trust is like a piece of paper. But once it's crumpled, you can't ever make it perfectly smooth again. Mark hadn't just taken the operating capital. He had leveraged our credit lines. He had signed papers I never saw. The betrayal wasn't a sudden event. It was a slow, calculated erosion of my life that had been happening while I was busy working hard, thinking we were on the same team. I drove home in silence. I didn't turn on the radio. I needed to think. When I got to my apartment, I sat on the floor of my living room. The reality hit me then. I was 34 years old. I had zero savings because I had reinvested everything into the company, and I was now liable for debts that weren't mine. Most people talk about resilience like it's a shield you carry. They make it sound like you just bounce back instantly. But that's not true. Real resilience is quiet. It's boring. It's the ability to sit in the wreckage of your life without losing your mind. That first night, I made a rule for myself. It's something I want you to remember because it saved me. I called it the 24-hour freeze. I promised myself I wouldn't make a single major decision, send a single angry text, or post anything on social media for exactly 24 hours. When you are hurt, your brain wants to attack. It wants to be the victim. But acting out of emotion is expensive, and it costs you your dignity, and usually it makes the problem worse. So I made tea. I sat by the window. I let myself cry, but I didn't let myself act. I watched the cars go by outside and realized that the world hadn't ended. The sun would still come up tomorrow. The betrayal was real, but it didn't have to be the thing that defined me. By the next morning, the shock had worn off, replaced by a dull ache. But because I hadn't lashed out, my mind was clear. I grabbed a generic yellow notepad and a black pen. I didn't write down why did he do this, asking why keeps you trapped in the past. You can spend years trying to understand the psychology of a liar, but it won't put a single dollar back in your pocket. Instead, I wrote down what is true right now. It sounds simple, but it's the hardest thing to do. You have to strip away the emotion and look at the raw facts. Number 1, the money is gone. Number 2, the business cannot continue as it is. Number 3, I have a specific set of skills that are still valuable. I looked at that list. It was short and it was scary, but it was the truth. And the truth, no matter how bad it is the only solid ground you can build on. I realized that my anger was energy. I could burn it up by hating him, or I could use it as fuel to push through the exhaustion of what came next. I chose to keep the fuel. That afternoon, I called the bank. I didn't scream at the teller. I explained the situation with a calmness that surprised even me. The woman on the phone softened. So she stopped reading from a script and actually started trying to help me. That was the second lesson. When you are calm, you become the person in control of the room, even if you are the one who has lost everything. People want to help a survivor. They back away from a victim who is thrashing around. I started mapping out a plan. It wasn't a grand vision of becoming a millionaire. It was a survival plan. Step 1, secure food and rent. Step 2, communicate with clients. Step 3, legal action. I remember calling our biggest client, a woman named Sarah who ran a logistics firm. My hand was shaking as I dialed. I had to tell her that the project we were working on, the one she had already paid a deposit for, was in jeopardy. I could have lied. I could have stalled. But calm resilience means owning the reality. Sarah, I said, I have some bad news. Mark is gone and so are the funds. But I am still here. I can't deliver the project next week, but if you give me a month, I will do the work myself, nights and weekends if I have to. I won't leave you hanging. There was a long silence on the other end. I prepared myself to be fired, to be yelled at. Okay, she said finally. I trust you, not him. You, get it done. That small win was the first brick in the new foundation. It taught me that my reputation wasn't the money in the bank. My reputation was how I handled myself when the money was gone. The weeks that followed weren't glamorous. In movies, they show a montage of the hero working hard with upbeat music playing, and suddenly, everything is fixed. In real life, rebuilding is quiet, lonely, and exhausting. I spent 12 hours a day in that office doing the work of 3 people. I was the CEO, the janitor, and the accountant. The hardest battle wasn't the workload, though. It was the noise in my head. Every time I sat down to work, my mind would drift back to the betrayal. I would replay memories of Mark, looking for clues I missed. I'd imagine conversations where I confronted him. Then this mental loop was dangerous. It was draining the energy I needed to save my life. That's when I developed a strategy called the worry window. It sounds strange, but it works. I told myself that I was strictly forbidden from thinking about Mark, the theft, or the legal mess during the day. I scheduled a specific time, from 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., to deal with the negative stuff. During those 30 minutes, I could call the lawyers. I could cry. I could scream into a pillow, or I could stare at the wall and feel sorry for myself. But at 8:31 p.m., the window closed. During the day, if a dark thought popped up, I would physically imagine putting it in a box and locking it. I'd say to myself, not now, save it for ATAX. This discipline gave me my brain back. It allowed me to focus entirely on delivering quality work to Sarah and the few other clients who stayed. Another harsh reality was the lifestyle change. I had to kill my ego to survive. I had a nice car, a lease that was too expensive, and memberships I didn't need. I remember the day I drove my car to the dealership to sell it. It was a symbol of my success, or at least what I thought success looked like. Handing over the keys felt like a defeat. I had to take the bus home. Sitting on that bus, looking out the window, I felt small. But then, a strange feeling washed over me. Relief. The monthly payment for that car was gone. The insurance cost was gone. By letting go of the image of success, I actually gained the resources to build real success. As a young lady, I realized that for years I had been working to maintain a lifestyle rather than building a life. The betrayal forced me to strip everything down to the studs. I wasn't distracted by looking the part anymore. I was just focused on being undeniable in my work. Then came the legal side. I met with a detective about 3 weeks in. I expected him to tell me they would catch Mark in a few days and return the money. Instead, he looked at me with tired eyes and told me the truth. Financial crimes are complicated. They take time. Even if they caught him, the money was likely gone. This was a pivot point. I could have spent the next 5 years waiting for justice. I could have paused my life, waiting for an apology or a restitution check that might never come. But I chose to accept that closure is a myth. You don't need the person who broke you to fix you. I decided to treat the stolen money as tuition. It was a very expensive lesson in business management, legal safeguards, and character judgment. Once I reframed the loss as the cost of education, it stopped feeling like a theft and started feeling like a purchase. I had paid for wisdom. Now I had to use it. 3 months in, something shifted. I wasn't drowning anymore. I was treading water. The project for Sarah was finished, and she was thrilled. Then she referred me to a colleague. A small check came in, not big, but it was mine. It was money that Mark couldn't touch. It was money earned through transparency and grit. I remember looking at that check. It was for $2,000, a fraction of what I used to make, but it felt heavier, more significant. It proved that my value wasn't in the bank account that got wiped out. My value was in my ability to generate results. You can steal a man's harvest, but you can't steal his ability to plant. I started to sleep better. Tio, the anger was still there, but it wasn't a raging fire anymore. It was just a pilot light, keeping me warm and alert. I began to rebuild the business structure, but this time it was different. No more blind trust. I set up checks and balances. I learned to read financial statements properly, so I would never be in the dark again. One evening, I was walking home from the bus stop. It was raining again, just like that first Tuesday. But this time I didn't feel panic. I felt a quiet, steady strength. I realized I was actually grateful, and not for the theft, but for who I had to become to survive it. The old me was comfortable and a little naive. The new me was battle-tested. I knew that if I lost everything again tomorrow, I could rebuild it again. That kind of confidence is something money can't buy. It took exactly 2 years and 4 months to get my net worth back to zero. That might sound depressing to some people, working that hard just to reach the starting line, but to me, that zero was the most beautiful number in the world. It meant I was free. I had paid off the debts Mark left behind. I had rebuilt my credit score, point by painful point. One morning, the phone rang. It was the detective from years ago. They had found him. So Mark had been picked up in another state for pulling a similar scam on a construction company. The detective asked if I wanted to come down to the station to make a statement, to see him in handcuffs. I paused, looking around my small, tidy office. I looked at the fresh pot of coffee brewing and the list of clients who genuinely respected me. I felt my pulse. It was steady. "No," I told the detective. "You have the evidence, you don't need me." I hung up the phone and went back to work. That was the moment I knew I had won. So, winning wasn't seeing him punished. Winning was realizing that he no longer took up any space in my head. I didn't need to see him suffer to feel valid. I was too busy building my future to look at his destruction. But this journey taught me the final and most important lesson about calm resilience. Forgiveness isn't about the other person. It isn't saying what you did is okay. It is saying, I'm no longer willing to carry the poison you gave me. By letting go of the need for revenge, I reclaimed the energy I needed to grow. My business looks different now. It's smaller by design. I don't chase growth for the sake of ego anymore. I chase stability. I chase peace of mind. Every contract I sign now has clear terms. Every dollar that comes in is accounted for. I don't operate on blind trust. I operate on trust, but verify. It makes for better relationships, honestly. People respect boundaries. I also realize that I am happier now than I was before the betrayal. Back then, I was terrified of losing everything. I walked around with a low-level anxiety that if I made one mistake, my world would crumble. You are in the fire, yes, but the fire is burning away everything that wasn't real. It's burning away your ego, your false sense of security, and your distractions. What is left when the fire goes out is the steel. So don't panic. Don't lash out. Don't make the decision to quit. Just take a breath. Make your tea. Write down your facts. Do the work day by boring day. Resilience isn't a roar. It's a whisper that says, I will try again tomorrow. I finished my coffee, opened my laptop, and started typing a new proposal. The rain had stopped outside, and the sun was finally breaking through the clouds. It was going to be a good day. Not because everything was perfect, but because I was strong enough to handle whatever happened next. Thank you for walking through this chapter of my life with me. If you are currently staring at a balance that scares you, or if you feel the weight of a betrayal, just remember that this isn't the end of your book. It's just a plot twist. We are going to keep exploring these real-life battles, the hard wins, the painful losses, and the lessons that actually matter right here on this channel. I have many more stories to share and practical steps to help you navigate the storms of life and business. So, if you want to grow stronger with us and learn how to turn your own wreckage into a foundation, please hit that subscribe button and stick around. We have a lot more truth to uncover together. Until next time, stay calm and keep building.